I was popping. It's your boy Big Rich, Queens, New York City, where we get busy. Mob story, business time. Ladies and gentlemen, come on in, wipe your feet on the rug, throw some smoke in the atmosphere. I just lit up a little bit of double tangy banana. Sativa. Let's get right down to business. Of course, we know today is June 10th. Today's the day that John Gotti passed away while he was incarcerated. Rest in peace. Mob Story, Season 3. Let's get right into it. Coming out the pages of La Costa Nostra News by my main man, Ed Scarpo. Salute and respect the bad old days. Appeals highlight Genovese family plot to kill Gambino boss John Gotti and brother Gene. Two Garden State mobsters, including the former head of the Genovese crime family's New Jersey contingent, are seeking to get out of prison on arguments that their decades-old convictions for ordering a hit on a businessman in an Upper East Side Italian restaurant, as well as for plotting to murder top members of the Gambino family, should be overturned owing to prosecutorial misconduct. Former Genovese consigliere Louis Bobby Manna, who served in the regime of Vincent the Cingigante, and co-defendant Richard Bacci DeCiccio, an alleged associate whom Manna entrusted with carrying out murders, posed their arguments in motions recently filed in federal court. Manna, 91, and DeCiccio, and co-defendants Martin Motz Casella, who owned Casella's restaurant, a Genovese hangout, and Frank Dipsy Daniello, a retired Hoboken police lieutenant, were charged for involvement in plotting to murder John Gotti and his older brother Gene, and two other murders. The January 1977 murder of Frank Bok Chung Chin, an electronics expert who had agreed to testify for the government, and the 1987 execution of Irwin the Fat Man Schiff, a 400-pound mobbed-up businessman who was slain while dining with a lady friend at the Upper East Side restaurant Bravo Sergio. Manna is currently incarcerated at a federal prison in Minnesota and is not eligible to be released until 2054. DeCiccio, 78, is in prison in Pennsylvania with a 2052 slated release. Casella died behind bars in 1992. Daniello died in 2007. In the current bid to get out of prison, Manna and DeCiccio allege via their attorneys that their 1989 convictions were based on solely manufactured evidence, inconsistent testimony, and a faulty elicited identification. I believe it. You think the feds aren't crooks? They're big. Listen, don't get me started. Manna's conviction, predicated on falsely interpreted tapes, could have been avoided but for the government's win at any cost position, the defense argued in a 29-page court filing. Today, more than 30 years later, we respectfully ask this court to have the government affirmatively answer for their wrongs, which caused this miscarriage of justice. Manna was targeted in part because of his 8-year refusal to cooperate with law enforcement in a separate investigation earlier in the 1980s, according to Daily News reporter Larry McShane, who also noted that Manna once refused a shot of Novocaine prior to a prison house tooth extraction because he feared he might break omerta while under the influence of the drug. This is a man's man right here. Manna, who had sought compassionate release last year, suffers from a long list of health problems, including colitis, a hernia, high blood pressure, vertigo, and ulcers, his lawyers allege. A federal judge shot down the compassionate release request. Manna was a leader in the Genovese family, a street boss who accomplished goals through violence and intimidation, U.S. District Judge Peter G. Sheridan wrote in his denial of Manna's motion for compassionate release. Despite the fact that he is considered frail and has some medical issues, the nature of his life as a career criminal and his leadership in the Genovese family outweigh his age and medical issues. The U.S. Attorney's Office fought his release, arguing that Manna was exaggerating his health issues and that Manna was generally independent with his activities of daily living. Manna is one of many federal inmates who sought compassionate release from prison due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. The warden at his prison initially recommended Manna be released to live with his stepson in Bayonne, but the Office of the General Counsel, which needs to sign off on any Bureau of Prisons approved early releases, rejected the warden's recommendation. Manna, DeCiccio, Casella and Daniello were among the members and associates of the Genovese family who were nabbed in a June 1988 roundup by the FBI and New Jersey State Police. Mann and his co-defendants were slammed with a 42-count indictment that also charged them with extortion, loan sharking, labor racketeering, and gambling. In 1989, U.S. District Judge Marianne Trump Barry, the sister of the former president, said the evidence... Wow, I didn't know Donald Trump's sister was a judge. Interesting. She said the evidence fairly shrieked of the defendant's guilt, and she sentenced Mann and Casella to 80 years in prison and Desquicio to 75 years. The government said Mann was the Genovese crime family's number 3 leader. Casella was Mann's chief lieutenant in running the family's New Jersey rackets, and Desquicio was alleged to be a hitman for the Genovese family. During opening statements at the 1989 trial, which used an anonymous jury out of fear of mob retaliation, then First Assistant U.S. Attorney Michael Chertoff alleged that a dispute erupted between the Gambino and Genovese crime families in 1987, which led to the plot to kill John and Jean Gotti. Federal authorities foiled the plot when they alerted Gotti to the hit shortly before they charged Mann and his crew. At a July 1988 bail hearing for Mann, Casella, and Desquicio, the feds released transcripts of Genovese murder plots against Gambino rivals John and Jean Gotti and reputed mob associate Irwin Schiff. The transcripts were based on 12 conversations that the authorities said took place at Casella's restaurant, an Italian restaurant in Hoboken where Mann held court in his heyday. The conversations occurred between August 5, 1987 and January 14, 1988. In the August 5th conversation, Casella and 2 men whose identities are not known discussed the impending slaying of Schiff, who federal officials said had links to both Genovese and Gambino crime families and was thought to have been skimming money owed the Genovese family. Quote, "You want to hit him?" Unquote, one of the identified men said, according to the transcript. "We'll do him at night," the other man replied. Bobby Mann didn't like CC. Chertoff said CC was codenamed for Schiff, based on Construction Coordinators, a New York business in which he held an interest. "I'll bring it up at a meeting and we'll discuss it," Casella responded. Schiff was shot in the head twice. 2 days later, Casella talked about the murder with 2 men identified by federal authorities as Genovese family associates: Daniello, a retired Hoboken police lieutenant, and James Napoli of Brooklyn. "The place was jammed. All the people ran out," Daniello said in apparent reference to the aftermath of the shooting. "Bobby picked the kid out," he added, a reference authority said to Mann selecting the gunman in the Schiff slaying. Daniello said, "It takes guts to do it like that. This kid was a stone killer," Casella responded. The plot against John Gotti first came up on September 21st in a conversation among Mann, Casella, and Daniello. Chertoff said the plan was to hit Gotti near a club he frequented on Woodhaven Boulevard and 101st Avenue in Ozone Park, Queens. First of all, we have to say salute to Ed Scarpo for another great article. I thought this was an interesting article to tie into today, being that today is the day that John Gotti passed away. Rest in peace. With that being said, Queens, and of course, like, comment, and share. Let me know what you're smoking on. Like, comment, and share. Subscribe. Make sure you tap that bell for all notifications. Get a friend to subscribe. Let me know what you're smoking on. Let me know what city you're in. Represent. And we will talk soon. This is Big Rich, Queens, New York City. Business. Salute.